Welcome back to another episode of the podcast From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, ADHD, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about, we talk about it on the show. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. Does not matter what walk of life you come from. You can check my show out over on my YouTube channel, same name as the podcast. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications or head over to Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, really wherever you listen to the show or listen to podcasts, you can find my show on there. With no further ado, I got my next guest coming on. I got Coach Danny D. Him and I hit it up over on Instagram. We met one another through another fellow Instagrammer, Travis Brown. But you want to take it away and now let them know a little bit about you, Danny, and what you're all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Danny Del Vecchio, aka Coach Danny D, which is pretty much my social media name, my personal brand name. So I am a coach. I coach in sales and digital marketing, and I help business owners and help professionals use their personal brand to make more money for their business in the digital world. That's my mission.
And what was it that before you went into business for yourself, you were in the sales world, in the corporate world. Where did you come from leading into going into business for yourself and becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, 20 years in sales. Started early on working in Radio Shack as a sales rep, worked my way up, did store manager, then I went to AT&T, same thing, sales rep, store manager, and then I went from AT&T, I went into their B2B sales department. Spent 4 years in the B2B sales department for AT&T. Pretty high performer over there, won a bunch of trips. Nice all expenses paid trips from AT&T. And then after that, I had a unique opportunity to go work for an AT&T affiliate company. And essentially what that company did was they owned and operated over 1,000 AT&T stores. And when I went to work there, they were just starting a brand new business to business division. And I was one of the first 8 people that they hired as part of this business division, and we grew it from 8 people to 150 in 3 years. And it was like during that time where I really started learning about coaching and managing and mentoring people, and I learned a lot about building sales programs and content and commission plans and hiring and coach. So it was really a unique experience over there, and ultimately I was very happy. I had a great job. I had a great team that I was working with, and all got taken away. Acquisition happened, and for the next 3 years, I landed in a bunch of jobs that were not really the right fit for me. And at that point was when I started to figure out, okay, how do I, start a little side hustle here? And then ultimately starting a little side hustle turned into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. So in the last in from January to now, which is we're in October, I have grown 2 businesses. I've opened 2 businesses and have created enough income to be able to quit my job and start doing this full time.
That's amazing. Well, one is your personal brand, Coach Danny D. And what's the other business?
So the other business is called Bizy Bee Social, and we are a content creation company. And basically, what we do is we help business owners, professionals create 1 month's worth of content in 45 minutes.
That's amazing. And how do you help them create 1 month's worth of content in a matter of 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's so this was interesting because the way that this kind of came about was because I had a lot of people that I would talk to about the coaching. And I would say, "Hey, here's the program. This is how it works." And people would be like, "Huh, it sounds all well and good, but it also sounds like a lot of work. And I don't have the time and I don't want to put in all this effort." So my challenge was, how do I come up with a way to create content in a very short period of time, but also still giving the ability for people to still be the face of their brand and maintain the face of their brand. I started experimenting with a friend of mine who was a real estate agent, and we hopped on a call just like this, like you and I are on right now, and records in high quality video. And basically, I act as a creative director and I take a few different ideas that we have come up with prior, some topics, and I turn them into social media hooks. and I give you some direction. And actually, by the end of the 45-minute call, we have recorded 8 short form videos, which can be used for Instagram Reels. They can be used for LinkedIn. They can be used for Facebook, TikTok, um, YouTube Shorts, really anywhere where you want to put your short form video. And then from that short form video, we take the ideas that were discussed in those videos and turn them into 8 single image infographic type posts and 8 carousels. So in a 45-minute session, we are able to draw enough out there to be able to create 1 month's worth of content, 24 pieces of content, so that basically you can post 6 days a week for the entire month and you will have created that content in 45 minutes.
So do you suggest to your clients taking one day off and just enjoying it to yourself sort of thing and not even worrying about social media for that one day?
The idea is that's a matter of preference for people.
Fair enough.
Whether they want to create every day, whether they want to post every day. I originally, when I set out to start on this thing, I said I'm going to post every day, and I posted every day, 7 days a week for I don't even know how many months, 9, 10 months, or whatever it is, like in a
You
row.
were consistent on there every day. Every day I opened up Instagram, I always saw a new piece of content from Danny. Usually the no
Mhm.
bullshit stuff,
Yeah, that's new, but
or you call
I'm still
bullshit.
consistent. I call bullshit as my thing. It's funny. I just started like thinking about all these things that I see online and all this bad advice that entrepreneurs are getting. And I was just like, hey, I just call bullshit on this advice. And it just people liked it and I just keep doing it.
For sure, and even, like, I see a lot I'll call bullshit on some people the way they talk about mental health or whatever, because I see I wanna touch a little bit on that too, just because 'cause we're calling bullshit on it, but it's not 1 in 5. I believe it's should be 5 in 5. Everyone is touched by mental health one way or another, even if it's you, the one that's struggling, you're touching all your family members that are struggling with you because they're watching you go through that, so everyone's struggling through that. At the end of the day, it should really be 5 and 5.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that there's anybody that hasn't experienced, whether it's family or friends, somebody close to them, if not themselves, going through some tough times. So I totally agree with you.
So, in that case, I think I'm gonna have to call bullshit. If you tell me you haven't struggled with mental health or don't know someone that has, I'm calling bullshit here.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that's a fair assessment.
Just have to go with Danny's tagline here, everyone. But so what have you learned about yourself in the past year, Danny?
Oh God,
What's one big
lots.
thing? Like,
So
we don't have to try and make 5 or 6 things. What's one of the main things you've learned about yourself?
I guess, like I've always known that I was resilient, right? I always knew I was resilient because you just have to be resilient to be in sales. You obviously you're an experienced salesperson. You know the deal. Resilience is a quality that you have to have, right? What I didn't know is I guess what I really didn't know was imposter syndrome. Like I had an idea of what imposter syndrome was, and but I really fully didn't grasp the concept of what it was. And basically I realized that I totally have imposter syndrome. And that was like a big thing that I had to overcome along this entrepreneurial journey was understanding that I have a lot of experience. I have 20 years of sales experience before I decided to set myself on this path of doing it for myself as opposed to doing it in the corporate world. And I need to give myself that credit because I wasn't giving myself that credit in the beginning for that I was worth more than what I thought I was. I didn't think I was worth as much as I actually was. And it took me some time to wrap my head around that idea. And luckily enough, I've had some amazing people in my corner who totally helped me to realize that. So that's the other thing too. Being a business owner and being an entrepreneur is hard. It's lonely. It's it has its own set of challenges that are different from the challenges that you see in the corporate world, and they're all new for me. And the most important thing that I can say about doing this journey is investing in yourself and finding people that are going to help you make your journey easier and help you go faster because they can provide guidance, they can provide assistance, advice. They could just be there as a sounding board when things aren't going well and you need to figure out something new or whatever it is, right? Investing in those relationships and finding those people and those mentors is like 100% critical for any new entrepreneur.
I love that you talk about imposter syndrome because I thought the same thing too. I didn't really know what it was. Then I started hearing it pop up all over social media, people talking about it, whether it be in the mental health realm or whether it be in the entrepreneurial realm like yourself or just anything really. I was like, you know what? This sounds like me too. When I first started my podcast, I was really worried what everyone's going to think and what are they saying about me. But at the end of the day, I remember someone said to me, life's not a destination. It's a journey and to just make the best of that journey. It's so true
Yeah.
though, and don't worry about what the fuck anyone thinks about you at the end of the day, because as long as you're putting out good quality content and you think it's good quality content and you're getting good feedback, then clearly it's doing something for the masses or the people that you've touched.
Yeah, 100%. I guess what I thought, like my thought process around imposter syndrome was like, oh, like I feel like I'm doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. But that's not really what it is. It's more like you are not feeling like it's more about self-worth. And you're not feeling like you are worth the money that you charge, or you can't charge a certain amount of money for coaching because you're brand new at this. But no, you're not brand new at this. You've been doing this 20 years and you've earned to be able to charge somebody a full rate that somebody who's been coaching people from Instagram for a while have done. So that is, I guess, what I didn't understand in the beginning versus, what I've come to the realization that I understand what it is now.
I get that sometimes too. My fiance, who's also a entrepreneur, she's a photographer and she's done some other gigs outside of wedding photography and what she does, stepping outside her realm, doing more some corporate stuff too. And the last one of her clients, she's like, "They bit right away at the price. I should have charged more, but I was just scared to maybe if they say no, but they said yes right away to the one." She's like, could have charged some more, but it is what it is. You learn as you go." She's been in business 15, 20 years almost
Exactly.
for herself. And you just learn and sometimes she gotta move with the prices, especially through COVID. She really had to arrange her prices, and it is what it is to make up for that lost time and stuff like that too. For being shut down for almost a year and a half because there was no weddings going on up here because people were moving them way down the road so they could have people bigger groups and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. No, it was definitely a tough thing for a photographer to get through that pandemic because there's no in person events. What are people? And the other thing is, even like family photos and stuff like that. Nobody wants, there was a good period of time, at least, where nobody would have wanted a stranger that was carrying a virus, like coming into their home and everything. So, it's a lot of people. This is where a lot of people adapted. A lot of people were like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I need to figure out like another way to make money. Like I need to teach people how to do photography, make a course, do a coaching, whatever it is, right? This was like and this is like one of the positive effects that came out of COVID is like a lot of people started looking at, hey, maybe I can do this for myself because they were forced to. They didn't have a choice. And like
Exactly.
people when they don't have a choice, like they figured out a way to make it happen. And there's probably been a lot of people that have experienced a ton of growth. I mean, myself, I was like, I wanted to start a podcast. That was when I wanted to start this business, right? When like I started getting into this, my whole thing was I want to start a podcast and I want to take my podcast and turn it into a side hustle. That was my goal. I was like, you know what? I got some more time. We got COVID going on. I'm not leaving the house. This is what I'm going to do. So I started to think about what I wanted to do as what my podcast could be because I had this, and I don't know if you know this at all, but I had a pretty big podcast at one point. It was the number one podcast
I
in
did not
like,
know, man.
yeah, I did. I had one of the I had a top 3 podcasts in the iTunes TV and film category for a good while.
In what
And
category, sorry?
TV and film.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah,
So what was it
it's
about?
kind. So, do you know the TV show Impractical Jokers?
Oh, my fiance loves them. Actually, she's a little upset because we have stuff going on next in a couple weekends, and he's in Toronto. One of them's in Toronto doing a stand-up show. But
Yeah. All right. So this is actually funny, right? So I was obsessed with that TV show. I'm like, this is such a good show, right? And I was at the time I was doing a podcast with my buddy, and it was called the Ocho podcast. And basically what we used to do was we just used to bullshit about TV and movies. And and then we would count down our top 8. We would choose a category and we would each count down our top 8, and like sometimes we would get into heated debates, right? So like so for example, like the top 8 would be like action movie franchises or comedy duos or best shows on HBO, right? That was like so that's how we would do these top 8s and battle it out or whatnot a little bit. And then we ended up and then I was like at the time, I was looking this was like the time of Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, like, these were the big TV shows, and you looked at Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, and there was, like, 500 podcasts about Game of Thrones and, like, Breaking Bad, and I'm like, "My favorite show right now is Impractical Jokers." There's 0 podcasts about it. So I created one, and basically, I found a different buddy, we would just, like, recap the shows. And then we started to connect with all these people like inside the Impractical Jokers community, these insiders. So we ended up with a bunch of comedians on our podcast, like people that were stand ups that were doing tours with them. We had their tour manager on our show. We had the executive producer of Impractical Jokers was on our show. We had a ton of the writers and comedy producers that worked on the show. And we actually had James Murray. Murr was a guest on the show.
that's
I
amazing,
ended
man.
up going Yeah, yeah, it was really cool. I've been to their office. They have this big office in Manhattan called North South Productions, and I sat in the writer's room and recorded an episode with the whole writer's room and everything like that. So, I grew this podcast from nothing. We had nothing. We had no like, no we didn't put a dollar in to market this thing. Didn't spend a buck on it, and it literally grew to 400,000 downloads in 60 episodes.
And nothing wrong with that. That's crazy, man. When there's it's crazy what you can do with just an idea. You go do a little bit of research. Hey, there's no podcast on this show. Let's do one now. Make be the first one. And
And yeah, and we were the first one, and like I've met all 4 of the Impractical Jokers like on numerous occasions, and they were very grateful that because basically we were giving them free publicity. But what I didn't know at the time was like I had no idea how to monetize a podcast other than sponsorship. I didn't think it was right to get sponsors for this particular podcast. And the reason why was because I felt like I wasn't trying to capitalize on their success or whatever to make money for me. So I was like, that's like how I felt about it at the time. And like really more my goal was with that podcast was like, how do we get the people from True TV or how do we get the people from the production company to to partner on this podcast with us? That was really more my goal with it. And that's what I was working on. And then ultimately, what ended up happening was my co host, he had just had a second child and was very busy with work and everything. And he was like, I can't do it anymore. And I was like, so I tried to keep it going solo, but it really was not a solo type show. So I was trying to get a guest every week. And it just proved to be really difficult. And then I got a promotion at work and I started doing a lot of traveling at this time. So I ended up having to throw in the towel and shut down the podcast. So years later, and this again, we kind of digressed, but years later, it's 2020. I want to start a side hustle. So I'm like, I'm going to do a podcast. And I didn't know what I was going to do it on at this point. And so I had this idea to do a podcast called For My Sons, right? And the idea was that I was going to talk to people that were influential in my life and get advice from them that I can leave as a time capsule, treasure trove of information that I can pass down to my sons. And ultimately, what happened is everybody's, like, oh, it's in the parenting category. And it turned into a parenting podcast. And that's never what
That's
I
amazing, man. It's
intended
just
for it to be. Like,
hey, it's
I
funny
didn't
how those things happen.
I didn't intend for it to be like it was never intended to be like a dad, like, podcast or whatever. And I was really struggling with it. I was really struggling with what to do with it because I did enjoy doing it, but, like, again, like, it got to be, like, this kinda, like, weird thing because I knew I wanted to monetize. And as I was learning about monetization, it was like, you can coach and you can do this and that, and I was like, "I don't wanna coach and teach people how to parent. Like, that's not what I wanna do at all. I've got this podcast, like, how am I gonna monetize this thing? I have no intention of teaching people how to parent. That sucks." So I ended up joining this podcasting mastermind, and the guy who ran the mastermind was Travis Brown. You mentioned him
Out of all
at the
things.
early of it was the at the early part of the episode. It was Travis. And after getting to know Travis for a little while and like being in his mastermind and him seeing the frustration that was coming from me, at one point, I said to Travis, "Oh, I do have all this business knowledge and I've been in sales for 20 years and all this stuff." And he's, "Hold on a second, Danny." Stop the presses, stop everything right now, stop podcasting. This is the podcast mastermind coach that said to me, "Stop podcasting, go build yourself a coaching business, use Instagram to grow it. And at some point, you will have a podcast that will serve the business." Best advice I ever got. Best advice I ever got.
And then here we are
Because
today.
right, because the moment, like literally right when he said that, I started changing my content. I started working on Instagram, putting more effort into growing on Instagram instead of trying to grow a podcast using Instagram. Started just trying to grow myself and my personal brand and giving people advice and tips on sales and marketing and things that I had learned. And I snagged myself 2 clients right away. Right away. And I was making money.
Nice.
I'm like, "Holy shit." I'm making money right now. This is unreal. I can't believe I was making $1,000 a month after 26 episodes of one episode a week of trying to put out podcasts, trying to figure out how to make money from it, getting nobody listening. And I'm like, and all of a sudden, Travis stopped podcasting, and now I'm making $1,000 a month in extra side hustle income in addition to my salary and everything like that. And I'm like, this guy, he's onto something. And then I hired him as, because like I said, I was part of the podcast mastermind, but I wasn't really podcasting anymore. So I hired Travis to be my coach full time. Travis is one of the coaches that I work with. And then another coach that I was connected with is somebody that ran a networking group local in my area. And he took an interest in me when I was starting my own business. Cause like when I started with the networking group, I was still working for another company at the time and he was interested and we were friendly. But the second I started my own business, he showed a lot more interest in me. And we have become great friends. We are also partners now. He is actually my partner in the content creation company. And he and another coach who's also amazing, they started a business together, the two of them. And they called it's Adam and Tom. So they called it Atomic Business Coaching. And Adam is a business advisor. He's a financial advisor. He's a business advisor. Um, he helps small businesses and young families. That's his thing, right? So small business owners and young families. And Tom is a mindset coach. So basically, with the two of them, they each had these programs where they were helping business owners, and Tom was helping them on the mindset side, and Adam was helping people on the business side. So they decided to team up and collab and create one offer. And they needed a guinea pig person for their
And
offer.
you were it.
And they were like, "Coach D's, this guy's hustling. He's out there every day on Instagram posting, like he's trying to build a business." They're looking, I wasn't their ideal client because they were really looking for somebody that had a little bit more, that was a little bit more established. But they're like, "You're gonna give us good feedback. We really think we can help you. We want to help you." So I ended up getting this great program. So now I basically have 3 amazing, and this is where going back to that initial first question that you asked me or whatever about the mentors and everything like that. I have 3 amazing people in my corner. It's been without that, there's no way that I would be where I am now. No chance. So,
You
those
know,
3 people are
it's all about
critical.
exactly. It's all about who you know, not what you know in this business, in this industry. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life. I've been told lately to shut up and listen. You know, and that's what I had to start doing in sales. And I started seeing things flip the other way too. When I shut up and listen and use that active listening, boy, it helped build that rapport. And I started seeing the sales flow in no tomorrow with the cars and anything in sales. Just shut up and listen or anything in life.
Right. So true. It really is. That's if you can get that through somebody's head, then then you've taught them how to sell. Just ask the right
Exactly.
questions and listen, and you will find the problems, and if you can solve them, you have nothing to worry about. You'll be a great
Eh,
salesperson.
100%, man. So what does mental health mean to you, Danny D?
It's, I've gone through a lot of, like, ups and downs when it came to mental health. We've had some of the same experiences. I fought addiction too back in the day. Actually, my best friend passed away from heroin overdose. I've been around addiction and like I said, even got into it myself. I had some issues myself, but nothing compared to what some of the other people that are in my life now have gone through. That was a challenge for me trying to come to grips with that. And then just struggled a lot when it came to especially the last few years. That few years after my company got acquired and I was going through cycling through these jobs that I was not really happy with. And you know how it is in sales, like if you are not like happy about what you're selling, it's really hard to be successful, right? If you're not excited about what you're selling, it's really hard to be successful. And I was not successful and I had the bills piling up and you got COVID, so it's hard to sell anything with COVID and everything like that. And just like being broke is like one of the most difficult things that has affected my mental health. I so like that 3 years, like I was literally almost twice as my bills were almost twice as much as what I was bringing in at the time, and got a family to support, a wife that was not working. She wasn't making any income. She's stay-at-home mom, really, and there's just a lot there was a lot of pressure to deliver on me. I was feeling extreme pressure. And ultimately, I had to sell my house. I wanted to sell my house anyway because I wanted to move out of New York. I knew that I wanted to move from New York and go to a place where I could give my family like a little bit better life, a little bit better pace because it was just so expensive for us to live in New York. And I'm just like, why are we doing this? Like we could be doing so much more for our family and if we were somewhere else. But ultimately, like I said, I wanted to sell the house, but I was forced to. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to stay there. And so it's been a challenge. And then at the same time, there's all these changes. I'm like trying to figure out how to not be an employee and to be a business owner. I'm trying to build a business while I also have 2 kids and spending time with my 2 kids and trying to help my wife things around the house, and I do all the cooking and a lot of cleaning and things like that too, and just trying to balance everything is it's tough, man. It's tough. And this move, we look at this move as like a new beginning in a new place with a new job, not even a new job, but like a whole new being a business owner as opposed to being a W-2 employee. So it's been a rough road over the past 3 years. And I'm in a very interesting place now where for the first time in a long time, I'm feeling like we're headed in the right direction. 'Cause for a long
I love
time,
that. You
I
know what
just
I hear?
wasn't sure
I
where I
hear
was headed.
resilience.
Yeah. Going
I hear
back to
resilience.
resilience, I guess that was one of the
Like,
first things we spoke about.
but it brings me right back to it, man. It just shows how resilient you really are, Danny. And I see you're posting on your stories, whatever is it, 21 days or 23 days. This is pre-recorded, everyone, but straight at the gym, you're just getting that mental mindset back in play, you know what I mean? That really ground yourself, doing those things for yourself, taking care of yourself, whether it's mental health, physical health, all those types of things, and having that work and life balance as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's I'm starting to like it's all about having the systems in place, right? And this is one of the things I've also learned over the last year is like these as a business owner, you live and die by the systems that you have in place. And the gym now is becoming it's a system now. I like that is a system. Like I know exactly what I'm going to do. I have an app. I use the app. The app tells me what exercises to do, and that's my system. And I'm going to stick to that system for the next year, and I'm not going to make any changes to it. And because like this is one of the biggest challenges I've had as an entrepreneur and just in life in general is I have shiny object syndrome for sure. I want to do the late it's holy shit, I wanna do that. I see something cool and I'm like, I wanna do that, I wanna do this, I wanna do that. And I try to do so many things because I get excited about trying all these new things and these new ventures. And then I end up like just abandoning one that I was working on to go work on something else. And now you're starting at zero again. So like I really came to this and again, the coaches have helped me understand this is, hey, we got to really focus on one thing, Danny, and let's get the one thing going. And then we can work on focusing other things, right? On other things, building new things. The systems for everything, like having a system in place for everything has been a critical part of getting through this past year and making this adjustment.
Now, this leads me right into my next question here. How do you set appropriate and achievable goals for yourself today?
So this is the mentor's help for this too. I got to be honest with you, because I don't know. I don't know the potential of my business at this point. Like I am so fresh and new at this that I don't know what it should be. So I just reverse engineered it and said, okay, this is how much I need to earn to pay my bills. Right. This is how much I want to earn so that I can do other things like go on vacations or do things that I have not done over the last 4 years because I've been broke. Go out and treat another couple to dinner or something like that, right? Like I have not been able to do anything like that because of like financial constraints. So I'm basically reverse engineering where I want to be and then looking at the offers and what I can do and what is within my capacity and my time and how to use my time most effectively so that I can hit those earnings numbers that I want to hit right now. So, for anybody that's, like I said, in my position where you're starting fresh and like trying to figure out what your goals are, reverse engineer them. Understand where you need to be, where you want to be, and just start putting the systems in place to get you there.
Yeah, it's all about reverse engineering, putting those systems in place, or using another thing I've learned about too called mind mapping. Put that main idea in the middle and start spreading out around it how you're going to get that main idea in the middle. How is it going to get done? And start mind mapping it out in order how you're going to get to that end goal too. There's so many different ways to do it. And however, whatever works best for you, then go with that way. Don't try and add something new in, like you were saying, if you haven't even conquered that one thing yet.
Yeah, yeah, no, shiny object syndrome is a real thing.
I believe
Is
it,
a
trust me,
real
I have
thing.
ADHD,
It's
man.
a real problem. It's a real problem for me. So,
Uh, I'm
um,
with you too, man. I get hyper focused on one thing, and then I get another idea in the back of my mind, and we're gonna go do that. I remember, like, clear as day, like, my fiance asked me, back in early 2020, "What are you doing out in the living room? Are you building, like, a fucking alien ship or something?" Just the random shit I was going through my head, and I had everything going on, setting up a podcast studio in a condo, and then on to the next thing, you know what I mean? Just everything all at once, and she's like, "What the hell are
yeah,
you
man.
doing?" I got the train problem, don't worry, man. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's slowly gonna come because I don't I'll be honest, I don't wanna be in car sales the rest of my life. It's just a matter I gotta get through some humps in my life right now too. I got a wedding to figure out. After the wedding's done, we can start planning more things, but that's an important piece of my life right now that we're sticking to right now, and I've been told that I gotta be grounded some days by the fiance.
yeah, no, understood. When's the wedding? It's coming up, right?
It's in January in Cancun.
That's amazing. Alright, so the countdown is on. You're about 3 months away.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Well, it's a big time in my life when I'll be honest, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm excited. It's all coming together. It's all coming to fruition now. But, we also have the studio, a new studio. It's a photography and my podcast studios in here too. It's slowly coming together piece by piece. We're like, let's just get it and we'll build it as we go. And it's pretty much almost done now. So it's just, you see this space and see how it grew from what it was before and just build it.
I love it. Go. Like I
Yeah,
said, you get
man.
it. You sometimes that's it. Like you just need to roll with the punches and see what comes and slowly piece things together. And sometimes we try to go all in and just get everything and do everything. And sometimes that works and other times it doesn't. Like sometimes you need to slowly build something and do it piece by piece as opposed to just trying to go all in and set something up. So I get where you're at on that one.
Slow and steady wins the race, in my opinion, for most things in life. If you and don't rush things. If you, I find when you rush things, and that's part of my problem, I'm learning as I go here, but don't rush things in life. Things will fall into place. The pieces will fall together with the puzzle, and it'll start to become a picture if you just take your time and slow down. So, do you think today does awareness of consciousness have benefits for yourself?
Awareness of consciousness have benefits. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Just being this and that. And like I said, I had that mindset coach, and
Exactly. Yeah.
that has been like a unique experience because that's not something that I've ever thought I would have. So being aware of some of the things that are some of the things that trigger the wrong behavior for me and like saboteurs. We did a whole thing on saboteurs and fears and really and taking assessments and learning about I guess the thought process and like how some of my personality plays into the behaviors that I exhibit, like the bad habits or whatever it is. That has been a really interesting, eye-opening process for me that I was not anticipating when I joined that. When they came to me about this idea, I would have never hired a mindset coach. Never. It has been it's like I said, super eye-opening and it's helped me in my business. It's helped me in just my relationships, specifically with my wife. It's helped our relationship. The fact that am I able to identify some of the things that trigger me or hold me back or whatever? Yes, I think that I do see the benefit of it for sure.
I love the mindset's huge, whether it's with a mindset coach, a mindset mentor like you have, going to therapy, any of those types of things I really do find will help you if you want to put the work in though too. It's not just listening to this person. You actually got to do the homework they give you though too, which it's not going to work if you don't do the homework at the end of the day.
That's yeah, so true. Yeah. Little things like gratitude and actually that reminds me I'm supposed to be doing my gratitude and I didn't do that yesterday. I missed it. But I we have a gratitude ritual at my home with my kids and everything, which is awesome. And we've been doing this for a long time. And my kids are young. They're 3 and 6. And we have them doing daily gratitude now at 3 and 6. So every day at dinner, we all go around and say something that we're grateful for. And my little one, my 3-year-old, 9 out of 10 times it's me that he's grateful for, which is fine. You know what I mean? It's fun, but like I already saw a difference in my son when we started doing this with my son when he was 4. And the reason that we started doing it was because he what would happen is at the end of the day, we get ready for bed, and every day he would talk about the thing that he didn't do that day, and he would be all upset because like we did all these great things. We spent time with his cousins or he had his grandma over and this and that and all these great things. And then at the end of the day, he'd be like, but we didn't watch PJ Masks today. And he would be upset and he would go to bed upset. And I'm like, we cannot have this anymore. We need to figure out how to teach him to be grateful for the things that he's doing and all the great things. So we started the gratitude thing with him. And literally, it took 3 days of doing that gratitude where he dropped that. It was
That's
done.
amazing, man. Gratitude's huge. We got to get back into it too, which is thank you for reminding me. Every week we would just write down 1 to 2 things and we would put it in a whatever, a big tub. Me and my fiance did it last year. We sort of strolled off from it because just life got busy with work and everything, and which isn't it's just an excuse if you ask me. But and you put a little piece of paper on what you were grateful for that week that happened. And then you take it out at the end of the year, whether it's New Year's or January 1st the following year, and you read them out to each other. You each take turns reading out what you're grateful for. And it's just something that you do every week. Thanks for reminding me to get back into it.
I love that. That's fun. I like the idea of putting on a paper and then pulling it out one day. That's cool.
Yeah, you just do it for the whole year. We did it for a whole year last year, and we fell off about halfway through this year, but yeah, we should get back into it for the last few months.
Yeah, definitely. Why not? Pick it up.
Exactly. We've come to the end of the show, Danny, and I truly appreciate if there's one thing I could take away from today's episode, everyone, honestly, let's go back to that word resilience, man. I haven't heard that word in a while and I love it. And I love to see how resilient Danny has been coming from the corporate world and going all in, man, going all in with his business and seeing it grow online since we've connected, earlier this year. It was probably in the late winter, early spring that we connected on Instagram. We shot the shit back and forth, shot each other messages and stuff. And I just like watching people grow online. And it's nice to see it, man. So before we go, though, Danny, where can everyone find you? And if they'd like to reach out to you, even if they have some coaching inquiries or just want to check you out on Instagram, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. The best place to find me is on Instagram. I consider that home base. And my Instagram handle is at Coach D as in Danny, Coach D Sales. And then you could also find me on my website, which is Coach Danny D.
Thank you again for coming on the show, Danny. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do, man. Truly grateful for this, and I'm glad we can make it happen, man. I hope you have an amazing rest of
No,
your day.
no, thank you so much for having me. Like, I appreciate it. And anytime I get the opportunity to talk leadership, to talk mental health, to talk about some of the things that I've been working on, and if I can help and inspire anybody else, like I will always jump on. I never hesitate. Anybody asks me, I always jump on the opportunity to do this and share my experience with people. Because if even if I just help one person, obviously it was all worth it. And let me help you out. Go give Chris a review, 5 stars only. Drop a review on iTunes, Spotify. They do reviews on Spotify now? Is that what's up?
Yeah, they do reviews on Spotify. It's a 5-star thing and stuff like that. It's coming along, but
Nice.
do it on
Drop a
Apple
review
or
on
go hit up
Spotify, Apple, whatever.
yeah, or hit me up on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button as well. You can find all full video format of each episode, everyone. But I hope you all have a great rest of your
Awesome.
day.